Universalists. Thank you. Please rise in body or spirit. Join us in singing our opening hymn. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near.
First of all, just a heads up, there was air conditioning in here last night, and they have been working on it this morning. But, feel free to use your sleeves, use the hymnal to fan, whatever you need to do to stay cool enough. There's some Kleenex boxes hidden around if you need to dry your forehead. So apologies for that. We will sweat our way through this together. My name is Reverend Laura Smidzik. I use she, her pronouns, and it's my privilege to serve as one of the ministers here at First Universalist Church. I am so delighted to be here this morning with worship associate Dallas Rising. We have Paulo Dubuque, Jay Albright on the piano, and Amy Bryant, who's helping us sing along. And gratitudes to John and Olu, who carry the sound and tech over there in the back, to the ushers and greeters who are showing up week after week to give you some hospitality, and to the tenders of this space who make this connection and inspiration possible each Sunday. And thank you for being here this morning on this, once again, another hot Sunday morning to lean into connection and community and the power of love. Welcome to this place where we speak an understanding of our faith that names each and everyone as whole and holy, worthy and welcomed, wanted, with room to grow. Welcome to this community of love and hope, committed to practicing beloved community, grounded in a love so inclusive and expansive and irresistible that it cannot help but transform us individually and collectively, creating a world here and now of mutual thriving for us all. And as we settle into this warm room together, I really hate heat, so this is going to be a stretch for me, you all. Let's start with 3 breaths, just to bring ourselves in from having entered and to create this space together. So let's take 3 intentional breaths together. Dear Dallas, how do you feel about going back and getting some fluid?
Great.
Thank you. Sometimes we forget to set the table, which appears to be what happened today with the chalice, but Dallas knows what's going on, and she's going to get us some fluid for our chalice. Oops. Maybe. We'll see if that happens. I might do, let's see. Yeah, Dallas is on after lighting the chalice, so I think we're going to let them. Nope. Yeah, that is it.
This is it?
Yeah.
Okay, because I found something.
No, that's it, the big thing. Yep.
I was very enthusiastic and didn't know what I was doing. Okay, I can just drop.
Yep. Here's the, now you know. It comes out of these little plastic containers that looks like bleach.
that enough?
There we go. Yeah. Olu, would you mind putting up the slide? So we can join in saying the words we say every Sunday together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Hello? Hello? There you go. Yes? Awesome. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Okay, so my name is Dallas, like the city in Texas, rising, like the sun coming up. I use they and she for pronouns. And I get to lead our Time for All Ages today. And we have a little bit less of a spectrum of ages than we do during the school year, but we are very excited for this getting to know you portion. So this morning, we are going to talk to one another in a minute, but I'm going to first set everything up so that we know what we're talking about. So who in the room has had an experience where you felt like you discovered something that's new to you and really, really cool? Yes, okay. And hopefully everyone will have had some such experience. I'll give you some examples to get your thoughts going. Yes, awesome. Fantastic. Maybe. Yeah, so it might be like a song that you really liked and you want to listen to it over and over again. Maybe it's something that you sing to yourself when you need a boost. Or it could be a game that was so much fun that you want to share it with the people that you love. Or maybe you play it with people that you don't know so well and you make friends with those people because you all like the game. It could also be a word that you learn that describes something that you have thought about or felt in your heart, but you really haven't had the right language to kind of describe what that is for you. So like for me, when I was 15 years old, young person, I learned about a word called veganism. And that was a really big deal. The word vegan, people who are vegans, they're people who really care about animals. And they make choices that are based in trying to protect animals and make sure that they don't come to harm. So vegans choose what they eat and what they wear and where they spend their money with that in mind. And when I learned about that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. I hadn't been doing it yet because I didn't know, but immediately when I learned about it, I knew that that resonated. That was like, that's me. So we're thinking about those kinds of things. So this morning, we're going to have a chance to get to know someone new, or maybe know someone that you know already, but get to know them a little bit better. And we'll share about a time when you had a discovery that sort of blew your mind. It rocked your world in some kind of way. It made you go, wow. Something that felt like an immediate yes in your body or your mind or your spirit. So when you discovered whatever this thing is, it felt like a part of you woke up. It enlivened you in some way. And it could be really ordinary or it could be profound, anywhere along there. So please don't let this feel like a lot of pressure. We're not trying to find the perfect thing in the next 2 minutes. We are trying to find a thing that describes something in that neighborhood of experience, okay? You really can't choose it wrong. Don't let this pressure you or feel like this is a big deal. It's not meant to be a big deal. But it is about something that really felt like a big deal to you. Can we hold all of that? Is this making sense? Can I see hands and nods and all that? Okay. And you can always ask a person if you're a little confused, like what are they going on about? I don't know what this is about. Just ask someone. So we're gonna break into groups of 3 or so, just about there, and have some time to share about what this experience might be for you. Think like movies, games, a new flavor of something. It could, think expansive. And if you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to talk to anybody this morning, not in the mood, that's totally okay. You don't have to. You are welcome to put your hand over your heart just to let the people around you know that you would prefer to have a little bit of quiet, solo reflection time. Okay, that's just fine. But make sure that everybody who wants to be included is included. Can we do that? Yes, we can do that. This is who we are. Okay, great. So have a few moments to share, and then we'll come back. All right, how are we doing? Can we come back? Y'all are having such a good time getting to know each other better? Okay.
Power gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. This is your not so subtle hint that the community time is coming to a close. Please give your attention back to Dallas.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Yay. So the thing that I love about that is that there was a desire to share and connect. Yes? So I'm so happy. That's okay. It's totally fine. Amy, thank you for getting us back together. So now I would really like to hear from some folks, if you can just raise your hand, what is something that was true for you? And I'll call on a few people and say them back. So raise them high. Yes. Oh, Lindsey Graham just died. And that felt right in your body. Okay. 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 An immediate yes. Okay. What else do we have? Andy. 80, right? Addie. Dance. Dancing it's a right fit for your spirit. Yes. What? Yes. So what I heard is that it didn't take very long for multiple people to have an immediate connection when we went to what really matters. Yes. Yeah. Love at first sight with my adopted dad. That's so sweet. How about one more? Oh, one in the balcony. Thank you. named Birdie? Rudy. Rudy, your new dog named Rudy. Just makes you feel alive and good. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for doing this, everybody. Yeah, we'll come back to what, one more, yes. Yeah. So the Universalist, Universalism says that everybody is whole and holy and worthy and loved. And it's also, sometimes people have feelings about the way that somebody behaved. So yeah, we hold room for multiple experiences. Yeah.
Amy Klobuchar wrote a really nice thing about him being sometimes working together with people and the spirit of that of working, even though.
I do actually appreciate all you wanting to share elements of this. It is complicated to live in the world right now, and I know that feelings are deep. People represent things that are of deep values, both values you hold and values you wish weren't in the world. So I hear you all, and I appreciate all of these, the reality that people are all divine in their core being, even though actions may cause harm. So thank you. So after hearing from one another, I'd like to just once again settle in. Pay attention to your breath. Hear your breath. Cries of children, of wiggling or giggling. As you settle in for a minute, this is what I want you to know. In this sanctuary this morning, there are people experiencing grief. New grief and old grief, anticipated grief, complicated grief, and ambiguous loss. At the same time, there are people who come with joy in their hearts, having received good news, a good feeling about something in their lives or the lives of loved ones, someone who likely just got a kick-ass new haircut, who discovered a new artist, or who just harvested amazing vegetable. Who knows? There are people in this room who continue to monitor ICE abductions and who still feel the terror of last year deep in their bones. There are people who come feeling physically well and feeling physically unwell. People with mental illness that exists but is managed today, and others who feel depressed and anxious and stressed. There are parents and guardians and caregivers who cannot get a night's sleep or a moment of quiet or time to rejuvenate themselves. And there's parents and guardians and caregivers who are in a moment in their lives when the weight of that responsibility has levity today. There are people who are trans and gender expansive, who are living full lives, and some who continuously suffer under the unbearable weight of severe and hateful laws that endanger their lives and livelihoods. There are people in recovery and people wondering if they need to examine their relationship with addiction. And there's people with friends and loved ones and children and youth who are worried about them, who are scared for them, who are surprised by them, and who are proud of them. What a gift to come here on Sunday morning and other times of the week when we gather to get to be a part of each other's stories and the story of this place and you people. Know that you, however you arrived today, however you are now, you truly are whole and holy, welcome and wanted, and together we pray that we will grow and continue to find ways to lean into love and courage, grace and tenacity, compassion and joy, and some semblance of peace. May we remember the words that we say together every Sunday. You are not alone. We are holding it together. Blessed be.
All right. So, one of our visionary goals here at First Universalist Church is to provide a meaningful presence to one another in times of grief, joy, and change. I want to talk just for a moment about what that actually looks like. Sometimes it can look a lot of different ways. But there are congregants coordinating things like meals and rides and chores and yard work and shoveling and animal care for when people need to go to rehab or treatment or get surgery, and even companionship. The care team thinks about all of these things and is open to hearing what it is that would be meaningful for you in terms of support as well. We want to be a community that shows up for one another. And we decided this together. And one of the ways that we can say yes without any hesitation is by offering these types of support and also funds, money, when it's needed. For the times when the biggest help would be payment of a bill or some other kind of, a grocery card. Because we do need money to survive in the world as it is. And it's not just the actual money that makes a difference when someone receives support from the Minister's Emergency Fund. It's also the relief that comes from knowing that that issue has been taken care of, that you don't have to worry about that thing that's been causing pressure and stress in your life. It's hope that comes from feeling a little less alone. The space that's available when you can shift from panic and fear about money to a place of rest, healing, and figuring out what's next now that the immediate pressure, financial pressure, has been eased. So today's offering is for the Minister's Emergency Fund, and we encourage you to give generously, knowing, and even if you can't give, generously, I just want to say, we always say that, but generous means different things for different people, given wherever you are in that time. So whatever you can, something that feels like it's doable, and if you've got the space, something that feels meaningful. But when I hear give generously, I just don't want anybody to think that if you can't give a lot, that you shouldn't give any. So give what you can, knowing that we're contributing to this being a place where we really do mean it when we say that we want to provide support for one another, that this is who we are. And if you want to talk with if you want to talk with someone about how to provide those other meaningful forms of support, Reverend Laura, you can send Reverend Laura an email, catch her in the social hall, whatever you need to do. But we want you to be part of that care team too. Thank you.
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from?
Paulo, I think that's one of the most beautiful renditions of that I've heard. Thank you.
The Unitarian Universalist Association has a section on their webpage called Blue Boat. It's the shared voice of youth and young adult ministries of the Unitarian Universalist Association. And these are the words of Ted Resnikoff, who worked in the Office of Youth and Young Adult Ministries at the UUA. Ted says, "We believe in evolution, not only evolution of life forms, but evolution of thought and evolution of moral and ethical understanding. So the truth that I embrace today may not be the truth that I embrace tomorrow. Revelation is not static, but it is ever unfolding. More and more will be revealed. Our part is simply to be open and thirsty for the truth that would be ours, but just for the time being. Such a stance keeps us humble and awake."
Dallas and I were sort of laughing this morning about we had last week, which was singing, so awesome, turning the congregation into a choir. And the week before, Jen spoke about pride and being able to sort of let go of scripts and lean into joy. And today I'm going to sort of hunker down and go more into a thicker sermon, perhaps, which is not normally my style, but I think it's good to have variety here. You know, we got to shake it up, people. So, and I love learning about Unitarian Universalist history and theology, so I'm hoping you will come on this ride with me this morning with glad hearts. So, Clinton Lee Scott was a signer of the first Humanist Manifesto in 1933. He said, "The known is not enough. We are drawn to all we do not know. We live in infinitely curious, and we are infinitely curious, and that curiosity moves to a commitment to a forward-looking religion. Everything is process. Nothing is complete." I love that. Everything is process. Nothing is complete. During our new member classes, I share that one of my favorite things about our faith is the acknowledgement that revelation is not sealed. Now, those of you who have heard me speak or preach in the past know my story, which is that I was raised rather loosely Catholic. We were not a family that spoke of God or Jesus or faith in our home. So needless to say, when I first heard that phrase of revelation is not sealed, it had absolutely no relevancy to me. But as an enthusiastic Unitarian Universalist congregant, long before I became a minister, I was an eager student of this faith. And if you imagine that an item that is sealed, whether that's like a new ketchup or mustard container or a well-insulated door, that seal is what keeps it closed. A solid seal does not allow anything to pass by it. It is locked down, secured, and closed to outside elements. Kind of the contrast to Unitarian Universalism. In A Brief Guide to Beliefs, Linda Edward describes revealed religions as those that claim to have their origin in revelations, which are distinct experiences of the holy coming into human life and experience. Revelation can take the form of visions, think of like Moses in the desert, inner voices, you can think of Muhammad and from outside of Mecca, or events like the death or resurrection of Jesus Christ. Here, in these examples, revelation is a historical event. It's not ongoing. Edwards also writes about faiths like Mormonism. They believe that there's continual revelation and that the successive presidents of the Mormon Church are said to be receivers of revelations. For instance, in 1978, the president of the Mormon Church claimed a new revelation which told him that God wanted to allow black male Mormons into the priesthood when previously they were not allowed to serve. Judeo-Christian religions are based in revelation. In Christianity, Jesus as God incarnate is the primary messenger in the Bible. Same in the Quran and the Tanakh in the Jewish tradition. They all have central defining scriptures for their followers. And this is true for many religions as well. Daily Kos refers to revealed religions as doctrinal religions, where the emphasis is on belief. In doctrinal religions, the supranational forces, often called gods, give guidelines and rules and rituals and other things that are to be followed by the community. As men, and I do mean men, began to document revelations and create sacred text, the long, more relational oral tradition of storytelling and teaching changed. I remember this kind of vividly in my seminary, talking about, that moment in time where storytelling, relational ended. Oh, it's being a little weird. Where that relational storytelling ended and were written. It just seems like it's kind of going out. It is indeed. All right. So I am not making that up. It's a revelation. Thank you. Yes. As religious scholar Karen Armstrong reflects, the switch from an oral tradition to a religion that was written text was a shock. Religious truth always sounded different when presented in this way. Everything was clear, cut and dried, and very different from the more elusive knowledge imparted by oral transmission. And many of you know how humanly interpreted religious text in the hands of prejudiced people who are seeking power have been weaponized and used as a tool for religious bigotry and oppression. We, those who view themselves as Unitarian Universalists, come from a tradition of people who were not afraid to counter the predominant beliefs of their time. Early Unitarian and Universalists were Christians who held the Bible as their central text. But for many Unitarians and Universalists, the Bible was open to critique, and church doctrine was open to question. After all, they believed that God gave us the ability to reason, so why stifle it? Going against the establishment really was not welcomed. And that's why so many of our Unitarian and Universalist ancestors, although clearly Christian, were regarded as heretics. Throughout history, different voices and ideas have emerged. In the early 19th century, the Transcendentalists were leaning into the idea of revelation as direct experience, experienced in individuals' lives outside of traditional church settings. Listen to this passage from Ralph Waldo Emerson as he describes the relationship between the individual and God and personal experience in a piece called The Oversoul. Let us learn the revelation of all nature and thought, that the highest dwells within us, that the source of nature are in our own minds. As there is no screen or ceiling between our heads and the infinite heavens, so there is no bar or wall in the soul where we, the effect, cease, and God, the cause, begins. The soul's health consists in the fullness of its reception. Forever and ever, the influx of this better and more universal self is new and unsearchable. Within us is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one. When it breaks through our intellect, it is genius. When it breathes through our will, it is virtue. When it flows through our affections, it is love. In a book called The House of Hope, A Promise for Progressive Religion for the 21st Century, John Behrens and Rebecca Parker reflect on the early Unitarians who believed in a loving God. Elizabeth Cady Stanton was around the same time as the Transcendentalist, and she brought this radical feminist critique to the religious orthodox of the late 1800s. She was described as someone who embraced the new theology, which placed ideas of God on a new foundation. Rather than submitting to a doctrine, human beings could come to know God from observation of the world and contemplation of the human experience. This idea of co-creating with a loving God reminds me of the slogan of our Christian kin, the UCCs, the United Church of Christ. You probably have seen outside some of their churches a slogan that said, "God is still speaking." So continuing revelation can come from many sources, and for theists, they come from this idea of a God who is still active and alive in their lives and in the world. By the 1900s, the idea of biblical authority above all else was mostly abandoned by Unitarians and Universalists. It said that within Unitarianism, the existence of God was being actively debated in the 1920s and 1930s. The Humanist Manifesto, published in 1933, was followed by a rise in humanism, with First Unitarian Society just down the road in Minneapolis as one of the most renowned congregations in the country. Curtis Reese, in his book, The Meaning of Humanism, published in 1931, articulated what the humanists were thinking at that time. He wrote, "The trend in modern religious developments is away from the transcendent, the authoritative, the dogmatic, and towards the human, the experimental, and tentative. Away from the abnormal, the formal, the ritualistic, and towards the normal, the informal, the usual. Away from extraordinary mythic expression and exalted mood and otherworldly, and towards the ethical, the social, and the worldly. Reese challenged the idea of revelation as a source of truth, for he believed that supernatural revelation is itself a product of the human mind. Kind of makes sense, because basically humans are the ones who record revelations, and their own subjectivity influences what gets recorded. He rejected the supernatural as a source of truth. Jump ahead a few decades, and you can see the thread of revelation is not sealed in the UU theologian James Luther Adams. In his 1976 publication on being human religiously, he writes of the 5 smooth stones. I won't speak of all of them, but the first stone is religious liberalism depends on the principle that revelation is continuous. This could also be said that our religious tradition is a living tradition because we are always learning new truths. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like just take this year, many new truths were learned. If you have a gray hymnal near you, you can pick it up and read the cover, and the title is called Singing a Living Tradition. Now, much of our hymnal right now is dated because this particular hymnal was published in 1993. At that time, it was pretty forward-thinking. It was meant to be much more inclusive to both gender references, multicultural sources, and a wider number of religious inspirations than prior hymnals. But just think about how our world and our culture is so different 33 years later from when that was published. Recently, the UUA launched a virtual hymnal, and their hope is to build a living collection of songs and resources through an accessible, equitable online platform grounded in our UU values. They say that this virtual hymnal will help Unitarian Universalism live into our prophetic calling as a joyful, liberatory, and anti-oppressive faith. In a section about this online hymnal, it says, "Sing out love," that's the name of it, Sing Out Love, kind of nice, orients us to this moment and the unfolding story of our faith, because our faith is always unfolding. I don't think we've leaned into the online hymnal yet. There's like a subscription thing, so this is all rather new. We'll keep you posted as we move forward. Life, as we know, is inevitably about change. When we just sang Spirit of Life after our time of prayer in the service, we sing the words, "Roots hold me close and wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me." We are people who do not remain stagnant or sealed off. And the same is true for our faith. We are responsive to times without losing a sense of who we are. There is always a thread to the past, one that is echoed throughout time up until today. We Unitarian Universalists turn to many sources for wisdom, ethics, and spirituality. Whether we turn to a sacred scripture, or to poetry, or to prose, to nature, to music, to science, or personal experience, there's so much to be revealed about ourselves and human nature and our larger world, and so much more to be uncovered and understood. For some, revelation may come from the divine or the universe, while for others it may come from human interaction or an observation in nature or science or a new puppy. I heard one minister say that we UUs turn to 3 places for revelation: personal relations with people we love and our relationship with ourselves, the natural world, and the arts. Everybody has an opinion. I kind of like that one, actually. At this point, it would be rare to find a Unitarian Universalist who sees one religious text as the totality of our religious truth. We know that there is no such thing as the sum of truth to be found anywhere, not in the most vast library or collection of sacred text. We believe that as long as we are alive, there are always possibilities for new truth and insights. We are people who are constantly striving to make meaning of our lives in the world we live in, and there is so much richness here in the world that for many UUs, there is not a need for any divine messenger or message. This life, this world, and what we experience when we're living in it is full of sources that will help guide us in becoming our best selves in community of faith. As John Burens, our past UUA president, writes, revelation is not sealed, it is lived anew in every heart. We UUs as a denomination or as a movement are constantly evolving and growing as a faith. In 2024, after years, we adopted a statement of shared values. They are depicted down in the social hall if you haven't seen them. It's an image that looks like a flower with love in the center, so feel free to go down there and check them out. These shared values are the center of our faith today. We came to these through a commission that was charged with moving beyond the restraints of our past 7 principles and sources and to discern what was relevant to our faith today. And this took years of discerning. There were in-person conversations, online conversations, votes at our General Assembly, edits, and then in-person conversations and online conversations and votes at General Assembly. It was a long process. We have this kind of outlined in our bylaws of the UUA. So if you ever hear people say that UUs can believe whatever they want, point them in the direction of our shared values, because that is what is common among us. And although it is not dogmatic, it provides spiritual and ethical guidance in terms of the values we live by and operate from as an association of congregation and of individuals. Our 7 principles and purposes, which many of you who have been UUs for a while are familiar with, were actually revised in 1985. So originally there was a lot of pushback to this change of these new values in this flower that's downstairs. But according to Unitarian Universalist bylaws, a revision of our principle and purposes was long overdue. These were used by congregations for 1 year shy of 40 years. No wonder people got attached to them. As I said earlier in connection with our hymnals, so much has changed over the past 40 years, and if we truly call ourselves a living tradition, we need to change as well as we come to understand the world we are living in and what it means to be a progressive, inclusive, and relevant faith meeting this moment in history. We are forward-minded. We want to be a contemporary faith, committed to remaining responsive and relevant in this age that we are living in. You may often hear from this pulpit the words of Octavia Butler, an author of specular fiction. She says, "All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change." Our faith is one of tradition and change, of roots and wings, a living faith, one that is continuously searching and open to discovery. Together and individually, we learn about love, we find ways to ground ourselves, we experiment with spiritual practices, and hopefully we create meaningful lives. As Rev. Jim Eller says, the most profound form of worship is to learn something new. And that's not just intellectual. So let me close echoing those words of Ted Resnick, who you heard from the earlier reading. Our faith, of course, does not have requirements. To become a Unitarian Universalist, you make no doctrinal promises, but you are required to do much more. You are required to choose your own beliefs. You promise, that is, to use your reason and your experience and the dictates of your conscience to decide upon your own theology. And then you are asked to actually live by that theology. You are asked to take your chosen faith seriously. He continues, in a very real sense, all theology is autobiography. I love that. All theology is autobiography, is it not? Our experience is what informs our sense of reality, our internal picture of the way the world works, and what values are. We believe what we know is true. That is our felt knowledge, not what we are told is true. In final analysis, he says, how can a person who wishes to live with integrity do anything other than this? So, all of you, I encourage you to take your chosen faith seriously, but not so seriously that it can't be changed. Revelation is not sealed. Allow yourself to experience all that is life: awe and beauty, anger, tenderness, grief, and so much more. And allow the world around you to reveal new experiences and truths in your life. Live your faith with an open and curious heart, mind, and spirit. May it be so, and amen.
When I was a boy each week, on Sunday we would go to church, pay attention to the priest, and he would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is that everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. And when I went to Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad. Miracles don't happen still, but now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but to find them where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips, but now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there. I used to have in second rate at best, but I would walk with an irreverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face and say it's not a testament. That'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come and say it's not a sacrament. I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, I saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush and singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then, 'cause everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
Thank you, Amy. For those of you who don't know that song, it's Everything is Holy Now by Peter Mayer, who's a UU, local UU. He's going to be singing over at Ginkgo's in St. Paul this month. So just if you get that name, Peter Mayer, that song just always kind of floors me. It's so beautiful. Thank you, Amy. So a few announcements before we go. If you are new and you want to head down to the social hall and not be stressed out, we have a little table with the welcome newcomers, and you can get your cup of coffee and sit right there. And there will be people to be in conversation with you, so you don't have to meander the room and try to figure out where to sit. We also have a new member class coming up this Tuesday, and you can sign up for that through the program guide or talk to me about it. Monarca, which is one of our community partners, is doing a training here this Wednesday at 6:30. You do need to register in advance. That came out in our Liberal, which is our weekly e-news. Also, today at 11:30, right after this service, there's going to be a program called Demystifying Dementia. It's done by a group called Dementia Friends. One of our congregants leads it. We've done it before. It's an hour long, and you learn an awful lot about dementia in a very accessible way. So I hope you will come if you are curious about that, whether you have somebody with dementia in your life or not, because I didn't mention when I was praying for people in this room that there are people in this room who are living with dementia. So part of being in beloved community is understanding one another and creating welcome for wherever we are in our lives. That will be at 11:30 and 2:09. Next Saturday, we have a trans breakfast and game time here. There's information in the Liberal and the program guide. If you want to cook or help host, let me know. I'll be down in the social hall at that newcomers table. And next Friday is a free concert here with a colleague, Apollos, who's raising money for local groups. Friday's voluntary offering goes to Clues, which is an organization that works to ensure the advancement of social economic equity and well-being of Latinos in Minnesota. So as we end today's service, I'd like to pull in one of our prophets, Mary Oliver, with a poem that Jen may have reused recently. You know, sometimes you just got good poetry, you got to keep returning to it. The poem is called Mysteries, Yes. Truly, we live with mysteries too marvelous to be understood. How grass can be nourishing in the mouths of lambs, how rivers and stones are forever in allegiance with gravity, why we ourselves dream of rising. How two hands touch and bonds will never be unbroken. How people come from delight or the scars of damage to the comfort of a poem. Let me keep my distance always from those who think they have all the answers. Let me keep company always with those who say, look, and laugh in astonishment and bow their heads. Go in peace.
We are going, and